Welcome to the next project conversation. Again, this is an amazing group of conversations where we bring together some of the best thought leaders in the world. Today, I have probably one of the most humble people I know. He leads digital innovation for Temasek, which is, if you don't know, a $200-300 billion investment company, but he's in charge. He's the director of digital innovations. But when I talked to him, I said, "What should I tell people that you are?" And he just said, "I'm an enthusiast." He is one of the deepest thinkers I know. He is at 3 a.m. in Singapore right now, calling in and checking in with us. But I'd love for us to have this conversation. I'd love for you guys to enjoy. I want to introduce my good friend, Sang.
Hello. Yes. 3 a.m. No joke. It is 3 a.m. out here. And but the calling is strong. The calling is strong. And when Pastor Smith calls, I'm there. Just like that.
Okay. So, this is mostly Americans are going to view this over time. I remember looking at your social media stream in January and February, and you were talking about COVID then. Can you just tell us what the experience of going through COVID-19 has been and where we're going with it?
Yeah, I mean, look, this is truly like an unprecedented situation. I mean, we don't even really know what this is really going to play out like, when they talk about this in the future. It's kind of like the eye in the storm, when you're in the center of the hurricane, you can't really, you don't really see like what's going on. And that's kind of where we're at. I mean, look, it started out here in Asia earlier, right? Like, so we gotta look at it before it went out to the West. And I just moved out here to Singapore just like 3.5 years ago. So I lived like decades in the States, and I wasn't here in Asia when like the SARS and the other device. Hit here. So when it came, the first thing I realized was that this country, like Singapore and Taiwan and Hong Kong, I mean, they've been through SARS before, so they batted down. They knew exactly what was going on. Everybody had the masks on, and there was that memory from before. But then, other countries in the world that didn't go through this, it's new to them, right? Just like it was new to this country, SARS, decades ago. So, I'm seeing like a play out of what happened here over there, but then it's like, over there, it's a new thing. So there's a lot of learnings that had to go through, the testing and all that stuff. And what's happening over here is now we're like in the second wave, right? So like,
tell us about that second wave, because right now in America, we're talking there. Well, I'm in California, which is its own separate thing. We're not going to open for a while. But a lot of people all over the Southeast and in the Midwest, their governors are talking about reopening. In Singapore, you have trace testing, you have temperature checking, and you're in your second wave. Describe that second wave and how did you get there?
Yeah, in the beginning, we were actually doing really well. Singapore was. It was actually always praised by the media as, a model country, even though it's a small city state. That it handled the outbreak really well, right? But here we are, and there's been some reversals in that because of the second wave. And primarily, what happened was I believe that there was a imported second wave, meaning like it came in from other countries because we had air travel still going on before it was totally locked down, and that just like brought back in. The next spread. And so I guess the message is like, wherever you are, like, in America, it's a huge country, there's different states, but, you could have this like importation from another state or another part of the country because it's so large as it proliferates. So that's kind of what happened. Yeah.
So tell me, what were some of the steps that people took in Singapore that you felt was really good to fight the issue? That you felt really helped hold it down?
Yeah, I mean, I mean, the most there are a couple of things. Probably the biggest one was the testing that they did, and you see it play out in other countries as well, like in Korea, South Korea. But the testing that was done was really great. The other thing that was done well was how the government leaders were really transparent and genuine in the way they disseminated information about what on earth was going on. And there was this like trust that was built between general public and the government leaders, like the prime minister, when he would come on and speak about what was going on, and it was very genuine, right? And there was no lack of clarity. It was very focused, very unified in the messaging, and so that instilled a lot of confidence in people knowing what to do, and then wanting to do what's needed to be done. Yeah.
Well, I know you as a profound thinker, and also in your job, you are director of digital innovation. Can you tell us how you've seen the coronavirus COVID-19 impact technology and where we're going with technology, and how does that even impact faith? I know that's a wide range of things, but you could take your time and unpack it.
I mean, huge impacts, right? I mean, as far as the technology goes, around this coronavirus, there's a lot of need for contact tracing. There's a lot of life sciences technology, like biotechnology, going on and finding, antivirals or the race for vaccine. There's technology involved in testing. There's multiple ways to test, whether it be antibodies or so. Technology plays this like multi role in combating the disease, the virus, the disease, and the management of it. And you see like you innovative. What you're seeing is like, it's not like there's like this new invention that's going to change the world, like electricity, kind of like eureka moment. What you're seeing is like existing technology, and this is like more like what innovation is, right? It's different from invention. Innovation.
Can you take a second and break that down for the viewer? What's the difference between invention and innovation? Because I think people often think they have to come up with something new to be innovative.
Yeah, no. So like an invention is something that has never ever been done by a human before you did it. Like it's completely new, like like electricity or some nuclear fission or something that never was done before. Innovation is different. Innovation is more of a creative way to piece together or reuse something that already exists in a new way, and so you can innovate without inventing. Now there's overlap between the two. Sometimes the invention is also an innovation, but there's definitely innovation that has nothing to do with invention. Like I could just you could do life hacks, which is like you're not inventing anything, but you're just like repurposing or doing something different with existing stuff. This is what like Steve Jobs does really well, right? He didn't invent like touchscreen, and he didn't invent like all the stuff you see in an iPhone, but he put it together, right, in an innovative way. So like that's the difference. Yeah. But what you're seeing is a lot of innovation in solving or combating coronavirus. Yeah.
So here goes a question. As a member of the AME Zion Church, a lot of people probably wondering, how did I get this guy from Singapore to be on this thing? He is a member of the AME Zion Church in Singapore. He watches us every Sunday. Can you tell us, how does faith in Asia play out during this pandemic? It's a very different environment. How do you see faith playing out in this pandemic for you personally, and then in your environment? Because it's different than what we experience in America.
Yeah, well, let me just talk about how I'm seeing it play out. I mean, I see a lot of similarities happening here that I see on TV and the news out there. I mean, everything from large gatherings at church, and the complexities involved with that, with faith and religion, and drawing the line between having faith and then just putting yourself out in danger and asking to be saved. I mean, like that played out here just the same way. I mean, for Catholics here, for example, the Archbishop like shut down all the church officially for a while, and so there was just no like Catholic mass. You see the play out of technologies like what we're doing right now, like digital video conferencing and multicasting playing out. So actually, it's very similar as far as like how faith and this pandemic over here from what I'm seeing over there playing out. Yeah.
Okay. Where do you see us going technology-wise and faith-wise in the future? Like I know your job is to look, 6 months, a year, 2 years down the road. Where do you see this? How do you see this changing the world we live in?
Yeah, I mean, look, when we get to the other side of this and come out, and this is why I think this whole next thing that you're doing, Pastor Smith, is really, really great. Is what's next is it's absolutely true. Is it's not going to be the same. We can already see that in like where it already hit and they recovered, like in Wuhan. I mean, life hasn't come back to the way it was, and it really won't.
Okay.
There are multiple reasons why I think so. Like one is like there's just a psychological factor that doesn't flip back. You get traumatized, and it takes time to generate trust and confidence again to do things that you used to do that now you wouldn't. And then there's also the actual biological, like medicinal, like thing where it's just not going to go away, and it's going to be a rotating, could be seasonal thing, and so you have to deal with that. And then there's a whole other spectrum of the triggers of trying to like do contact tracing, but then the negative of that having like privacy questions and issues, and who gets to control like all this. There's all this conspiracy theories these days about policies are just trying to get your private data so that they can control it. But to some degree it is true, right? There is this question of who controls your data and your privacy.
How are they doing contact tracing in Singapore? Is it by apps? How are they doing that? So, because in America, we don't have contact tracing at this moment. And a lot of us are dealing with the concept of whether is it going to be by application? Is it going to be us walking around with a barcode? Talk to a little bit of how they're doing the contact tracing.
Well, when it first started, right? Like when it first started, it was, and I was part of this team. I volunteered to help with contact tracing within our company, and it was totally manual. Like we had a playbook. It literally, like, okay, somebody tested positive, like 20 minutes. You got to contact that person. Then you got to talk to her and see like who through memory did you meet these past 2 weeks, and then literally like put it into an Excel spreadsheet and put it out. That was the way it was done. After some time, right, the government technology arm actually was able to develop an app. So it was through an app on the phone, where through basically some type of Bluetooth technology through the app that they could actually work backwards through proximity if you installed the app. And it's kind of cool, actually. The app was the code for the app was open source, so it was out for the public to see. And what happened was other countries, I think the most recent one, like Australia, used the same code base to build their version of the app, and that's been a success. They've got over 2 million downloads in Australia, and they're using it pretty well. And you see other countries like South Korea also using apps to do this type of stuff.
So for me, I'm just trying to understand. I know the Bible. I'm not that technology guy. I have an app that's on my phone with Bluetooth, and I leave it on and I walk around. If I end up getting the disease, the app, because it had Bluetooth on, could tell me who I was in contact with before I got sick. Correct.
So you could go backwards, but the challenge here is everybody else needs to have that app and turn it on.
Oh, I don't think it'll work here.
The app and running around, it's not gonna work, and so that's the challenge.
So I don't know how we do contact tracing in America because people are so privacy focused. Who's going to walk around with an app with Bluetooth on it to let the government know exactly where they went? Yeah.
So it's definitely a challenge, and what I'm seeing about different countries, it's actually really interesting if you think about it. It's the same virus, pretty much, right? I mean, limitations here and there, but in effect, it's the same virus. But you go from country to country, and you'll see a different reaction by the country. And it's really a mix of a bunch of things. It's a mix of the country's, culture, a mix of like the government policies and propensity for trust with the government. And so there's like multiple factors involved, and you see how like from country to country the response is different and the outcome is different as well. So it's really a test at the country level.
It's a test. Wow.
When you see it, right? But it's the same virus. It's the same virus wherever you go, right?
Same virus, no matter where you are. So the virus is the virus. The test is more, what is the country's trust and the capacity to fix it?
Yeah. I mean, you look at Sweden, they're doing something totally different, right?
Yeah. You know what's so interesting? I just sit back and I have a whole bunch of stuff. I am profoundly bothered by the fact that in the last 2 months, we lost more people than we did at the Vietnam War.
Yes, that's true.
And we have no national mourning right now. So, right. and that there's going to be a lot of preaching, teaching, lamenting. There's going to be a lot of, I think there's a deep search for our soul as a country that has to happen around that, because you can't lose that many people. There's trauma, there's community destruction, and then just talk about the economy. Like, I don't get it, and your job, you are a capitalist, right? That's your job. So, I don't get it. I don't know where we go. Do you see any technology that can be innovated in the next season of the world that you have your eye on? I know some of the stuff is proprietary, so you can't change it. But let me know if there's anything that you're looking at the moment and that you really think that will be something we'll see in the next season of the world.
Like in general, or like with regards to the coronavirus?
In general. Let's go general.
Oh, in general. Well, I mean, that's a whole nother that's a whole nother ballgame. I think I mean, there are the usual, buzzwords. You talk about machine intelligence, or they call it artificial intelligence, and we're still at a point where there's two camps of the smartest people in the world. One camp is just a tool, and the other camp is they're very worried about where it could go in terms of its power. And so that's something that is to be closely watched. I mean, there's a lot of hype around it, Terminator type of stuff, and I think there's some of it is very just out there, not really based on facts on how these things work. But at the same time, there are developments with it where there could be step changes and leaps that could happen. And you look at like what Elon Musk is doing, and this year they're going to implant a chip in a human's brain for the first time and try basically they call the singularity, but this could be one form of it. So these are developments we should closely watch, because the potential is huge, even if the risk might not be really too high. But because of the huge potential, you got to pay attention to it. There's other technologies like computing technologies, such as like quantum computing, which also has been in the news, and talks about how that could really change, and it really could, right? Like, we're talking an order of magnitude change in compute capability. Like, literally, like the world's fastest supercomputer is like billions of times slower than a quantum computer. And so that these things, if you mix them, you could end up with a very potent setup, right? Like, you throw machine intelligence data and algorithms into a super duper powerful quantum computer. It's unclear what's going to result out of that. You might get a step change in intelligence. But these are things that are currently being developed.
So here goes a question from a theological question: is humanity creating new life?
I mean, I don't know, right? Again, there's just multiple camps at this. Some say that there is a possibility that I mean, just because we're not God, so from my point of view, we're not going to create life.
Okay.
That's not going to happen. But there are those who might think that we will create some kind. It'll just also become conscious and have its own life, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing it will have is it'll have some kind of an intelligence. That doesn't necessarily mean it's life, but it may have some kind of an intelligence. That's something we already see. Some deep learning techniques or whatnot happening. Yeah.
So this is the question: we can't control a virus. How do we control something with intelligence?
Oh, we can't. Okay, so there's somebody called Dr. Borstrom out in the UK,
Mm-hmm.
And he had a pretty good way of putting it. It's like, human intelligence has kind of just been like horizontal. Like we haven't really gotten that much smarter in thousands of years. Like,
Mm-hmm.
If you look at Plato and all the Greek philosophers, they're really smart people. They just didn't have tech knowledge, But as far as like intelligence, they're very smart already.
Mm-hmm.
And then so it's flat. And then you see like computer intelligence just like increasing and increasing, and then it's gonna just like overtake at some point. So it's like gonna cross it. And what the idea there is, when it crosses, it's like you're like waiting at the subway station for a train to come. And you're like, oh, okay, we're still smarter. And then when machine intelligence comes, it's going to be like the train that just like whizzes by you, and it's going to be that much smarter than you when it passes by.
These are profound implications because I'll say this: in our current time and place, we see the fallibility of people. We see the fallibility of our systems and our structures, but on the other end, we're creating this technology with these structures that are broken. I don't know where do we get any synthesis, or where do we get any place that this balances out, or who balances it out? And I know you, as somebody looking at this, where's the ethical weight on this? Where do we ask these questions?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I mean, it's something I struggle with. There are days when I'm looking at this stuff and I'm thinking, man, am I contributing to not so good things? Like, is this like the modern version of the Tower of Babel?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing about humans. Over time, we always think we've arrived or we've gotten really smart. You can rewind back hundreds of years. We figured out that the sun is at the center of the solar system, or and then I think we're like, okay, we figured everything out, and then we find something new that just completely changes our understanding of reality.
Wow.
And this will continue to go on, but I think like, and if you pull it back to the coronavirus thing, like, take for example, like, there's this awesome movie called Contagion that was made 10 years ago. And in that movie, it kind of plays out what might happen. And one of them was like, this digital passport, or this basically this way of understanding whether or not you've already been immunized or achieved immunity to the virus. And then you'd have like some digital passport. And there's thinking about doing that now, right? Like it's something that they're considering. But then I wonder, like, this type of tracking and then just try putting you into the system. I mean, could it be like the mark of the beast? I don't know. But like conceptually, I mean, you're being marked, and then you basically, with that mark, you can or can't do things in society. And that's not too like far removed from, let's say, what the Bible is talking about with the mark of the beast. And then so these types of thoughts creep in. It's enabled by technology, if you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Are we going to get to the point where, when you're born, and there's this movie called Gattaca also that talks about stuff in the future where, you just get a microchip implanted in your foot, in your bottom of your foot, on your shoulder, and that's basically you, like your social security card, your info, your bank account info. It's all 5G Wi-Fi. You pay for stuff just walking by the counter because that chip's in you. It identifies you. You can't do commerce or trade without it. And if you don't have a chip, you're like not in. You're not plugged in, then you can't do anything. And like, are we headed towards, and that dovetails into the coronavirus. It also checks your health and your DNA and who you are. So, we know these things to prevent spreads of viruses in the future, per se. These types of thoughts creep in my mind. So sometimes I wonder. But I guess for me, I always think about like, well, that may be the case. And if that turns out to be where we're going, then I can try and, you for the better.
We lost you for 1 second. Like Say that again. Say that last part again. We lost you for 1 second.
Oh, sorry. No, like, if by learning and understanding the technology, right? I convinced myself into thinking that with that information and knowledge, if it turns or it becomes obvious that this thing could be something like end times or something that's really not great, right? According to the scripture, then I could probably do something about it or try and, contribute in a positive way. Yeah.
So, I think you are a great example to believers and Christians in the fact that we have to engage in the marketplace, but we have to have some ethics and values doing it. And it becomes so much more important given like the capacity and the ability and everything that's coming down the pipeline. As somebody that's watching our country, America, as somebody that has a great American experience, you were in New York and you worked there and you lived in California and part of Silicon Valley. So you're very well versed in America. Is there like one closing thing you'd want to tell us or one thing you'd say, I wish you guys would do, wouldn't do, or, what would you say to us?
Well, man, that's a tough one, but I guess I would say to people in America, I mean, I lived there most of my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say that we're at a crossroads in America, and this is really a test of the people there.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever happens, I think it's really important for the people not to get swayed or let go too far from one side to the other based on whatever information's coming out, but to really try and be more in even keeled and towards the center.
Mm-hmm.
When you come to like these really big decisions. I mean, case in point, do we open or do we have lockdown? Are we comparing lives to livelihood? This question of, are we the solution? Can it be worse than the virus itself, or can it not? I mean, these types of polarizing debates, we need to not get so lost in it, but be able to actually take a step back and look at it from above down into it and think objectively. And that's something I think I would want people in America to try and do. It's hard though, because you get entrenched on one side or the other side for various reasons. Mm-hmm. And that just adds fuel to the polarization. And this is not a time when the country needs, it is not the time for polarization. Let's just put it at that. This is a time where everybody needs to come together. Everybody, not just in all dimensions, in religion, in society, in government, all these dimensions. It's a time for people to come together, not come apart. So that's one thing I would say. Yeah.
All right. Wow. We blew through the half an hour so quickly. I love what Todd Bryant just said. Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. Todd, I think you really helped us with that last close.
Thanks, Todd. That's a good one.
Okay, so if you look behind Sang, Him and I share a hobby in common. I know we've been very serious. We've talked about artificial intelligence, smarter than humans. We've talked about it all, but we like sneakers. So,
not the candy bar?
Multiple.
Not the candy bar.
Not the candy bar, sneakers. So we're going to have a little bit of a battle right now. I think to do top 3 of the last 12 months. I'm going to start first. We're going to do 3 categories. We're going to do Air Jordans. We're going to do Nikes that aren't Jordans, and then we're going to do non-Nikes.
Okay.
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 In the comments, I need you to help me vote for it. So say I'm going to go first with the Jordans. Travis Scott.
Travis Scott. That was heat
Travis
this year,
Scott.
last year.
With the pink laces. Can
you have the pink laces?
Comments. I need you to tell me you like them. Okay. Sang, what are you going to do? What are you bringing from Singapore that's going to beat the Travis Scott?
The heat from Singapore I'm going to have to go with my Jordans as well.
Oh, wait, hold on. Are those the Off-White's European release? Like,
yes, they
are.
Like
3 pairs of those?
No, they made more than 3 pairs. But these are they're just clean. So like I can't wear them. They get dirty. So they just sit there.
All right. I'm gonna let you go first for your non-Jordan Nike.
My non-Jordan Nike. All right. Non-Jordan Nike. I gotta go with a smiley face. Yes.
Tell them what those are. Tell them what they are.
These are the VaporMax CPFM. Yeah, they're kind of like they look like a kid made them, which is why I like them. It looks like some kid pieced together a shoe.
Saying the people got you winning.
What you got, Philip? Oh, yeah. Oh, the fear of gods.
The fear of gods. The fear of gods. Shannon, can I get a vote, please? Can I please, can I get a vote? I think the fear of God beats the smiley faces. I think
those win. Yeah, I think those win. Those are bad comfortable too.
They are. They're supposed to be comfortable.
Right?
You know what it is? You got to break them in because they're a little weird when you first pull them on. They're a little stiff, but they're good. But you got to be a sneakerhead to love that. All right.
Last one.
Last one.
You started. You ended. You started. You ended.
Non-Jordans. Pickup of the year. I'm going to go with something that you have to be only in the United Kingdom. You got a 1.5 saying. How did you keep me on a 1.5? Thank you, Todd. Okay. I want to go with something that most people in America will never know about. There's a company in the UK called End Clothing. They did a special, End. Yes. They did a special Christmas release this year for New Balance, which we've started getting into the New Balance this year.
Yes, it is.
And they did the Persian rugs.
Oh, you did get them. Woo!
Like you can't even buy these in America. Like, listen, you got so shipping for this.
Hey, those are pretty fire, man.
Those are fire. Like, I wear these. People are like, what are those? What are those? Okay.
And COVIDs. What?
Okay. Let me see what you got. Let me see. I think I won.
To close it, I mean, look, these are actually pretty not new, but I got them the ones that kicked it all off, the original Yeezys, the Turtle Doves. Yes.
Did you pick up the Turtle Doves recently?
Yeah.
Okay.
I had to. They're the OG Eagles. I had to do it. I had to do it. All right, man.
Because from Singapore, my boy Sang has killed it again. Saying,
Please come over. Please visit. I'll make sure you have
you know
a great
what?
time.
I know it's only supposed to be half an hour, but we were supposed to go to Singapore this summer.
Yes.
Jamie finally supported your sneaker habit.
Jamie's just hating.
She said you, Jamie. Jamie Sang's wife. We were actually supposed to come to Singapore this summer. I've got a beautiful Sang's son is my godson, Jacob. He's a beautiful son. I need to get to Singapore, so we're praying that COVID gets over so I can go to Singapore because I think it's going to be amazing. Sang, thank you so much for coming on again.
Thanks for having me over.
And thank you for, you know what, if people don't know, it's 3 a.m. in the morning, 3:30 in the morning. So he really stretched to be here, but tomorrow is Loren, stop. I think Jamie had it right. Jamie was right. I agree. Jamie was right. Jamie was right. Not Loren. But thank you again. We will be talking. Everybody, thank you for watching another episode of the Next Project Conversation. We keep trying to bring you some amazing content. Saying the conversation today just blew my mind. You know, we started talking about artificial intelligence and humans creating and COVID and tracking and what the implications of that are. As a church and as a people, we have to start thinking about that. Next week, we got two very special guests. My first guest is recording artist, praise and worship leader, Todd Galbraith. He is going to talk about what worship looks like in the future, what worship looks like as we come out of COVID. I think as we change our formats and services and different things, we have to figure out what worship looks like. The other thing that my other guest next week, Thursday, is going to be my good friend, Reverend Samuel Green from the AME Church. He is a Christian ed director of their 7th district. He is one of the most innovative Christian educators I know. He's done some amazing things, and I just want to hear how he's dealing with Christian education in this new time. So I can't wait to see you next week. We'll see you next Wednesday at 12:30, next Thursday at 12. Thank you, everybody. God bless.